Serious question. Do you feel like a fraud? At any point in time, they're going to finally discover that you don't belong there. Or are there some days where you feel like you don't even deserve your accomplishments? If any of those things happen to be true for you, it is likely that you have what is termed imposter syndrome. Now, if you're interested in learning more about how to overcome this, stick around. But first, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Dr. Vanessa Milagros, and I'm a licensed mental health professional. If you're interested in mental health topics such as these or more, make sure to subscribe, comment any questions you have down below. Let's get started. So it's important to start out by letting you know that imposter syndrome is not technically a diagnosis. However, it is a term that encompasses something that is very real for a lot of individuals. And this really just means that you fear being discovered as a fraud, that where you got to, your accomplishments, whether that's career, family-wise, school-wise, it was just by some random luck. You actually don't deserve to be there. And it is a strong, intense feeling that comes with negative self-talk and thoughts. And there are actually different types of imposter syndromes, right? So there's the expert, so the person who feels like they never know enough. And then you have the perfectionist, which they feel like nothing is ever actually good enough. And the natural genius, which they feel like they should be naturally gifted and good at something and that it should come effortlessly. So let's talk about some of the reasons why you may experience what we call imposter syndrome. The first one is childhood and cultural influences. So if you had high expectations placed on you, unrealistic expectations placed on you from a young age, if you were constantly criticized from a young age, all of these things can impact you growing up and the way you view and think about yourself, your accomplishments, and your actions. This also can lead to strong feelings of inadequacy where you just never feel like you are enough. And we know that the culture that we grew up in strongly impacts the way we view ourselves. This could lead to self-doubt within yourself. So constantly doubting yourself no matter what you do, no matter what other people say, oh, they're lying, or they're just being nice to me. You're still going to go back to that negative self-talk. Next, professional and academic settings can definitely fuel the imposter syndrome because it is fueled with competitiveness of being the best, being number one, especially when you're surrounded by other high achievers who also may struggle with imposter syndrome. Then you start to underestimate your abilities and you start to believe that other people know better. There's actually been studies done that show that individuals, when they're part of a collective group, they feel as though, oh, somebody else is going to take care of this. Oh, somebody else is going to do better than me. Or somebody else has this, right? So for instance, there's a traumatic situation that occurs. And the assumption is somebody else is going to call 911. Somebody else is going to ask for help. Somebody else is going to step up to the plate and ask for help. I don't need to. And what happens is if all of the people around you are thinking that way, nobody ends up stepping up. That's a lot of the reasons why they tell you when you're in a crisis situation, you need to be very specific who you pick to help you. And lastly, perfectionism and self-criticism. I want you to look at how you speak to yourself about yourself. If you take every opportunity to bog yourself down and to tell yourself all the reasons why this was just luck and this was just coincidence and this was not attributed to anything that you did, you just have no control and it was by some miracle that this happened. It's not because you actually studied. It's not because you actually worked hard at this. If you continue to think in that way, you're probably more likely having imposter syndrome, right? And this makes it hard to recognize your own achievements and even acknowledge your own achievements. So let's talk about how to reframe your thinking, because although this is not an actual diagnosis, it is still important to learn how to change your thought patterns in order to help you overcome imposter syndrome. So here's what I want you to do first. I want you to work on challenging your negative self-talk. This one's going to be hard. I am already going to tell you, I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. You're going to have a hard time with this one. Why? Because you're not going to believe it. If you've told yourself for years that it was just out of pure luck, you're a fraud, that eventually they will figure it out that you're not supposed to be here for some reason, it is very hard to tell yourself anything else. So what I want you to do is recognize that this is going to be a challenge, but I'm still going to give it to you anyways. Challenge your negative self-talk. So for instance, instead of saying, oh, I just got lucky, I want you to reframe that and say, you know what? Maybe I just got lucky. I don't want you to just completely take it away. Yes, maybe in some part I just got lucky, but also maybe I worked hard for this. Maybe I studied a lot for this. Facts, not feelings. We'll get into that later. Did I study hard? If so, how long did you study for? How much did you study? Who did you study with? Right? I want you to base it off of facts. This leads me to my next point, which is to focus on the facts, not your feelings. See, you may feel strongly about something. That doesn't make it true. When you focus on your feelings, that is going to fuel the imposter syndrome. I just feel like I don't belong here. I just feel like I'm a fraud. I just feel like eventually they're all going to see how dumb I sound. They're just going to see how I'm not qualified for this at all. Eventually, all of this is going to crumble and it's going to be some big joke. Even if you feel that way, that does not automatically make it true, but there's a strong sense that it is. And so you grasp that and you run with it, right? I want you to base it off of facts moving forward. Whenever you start to say, well, I feel like it's just not going to work out. Well, I feel like I didn't deserve this. Let's take a step back. What are the actual facts? What did you do to get to this position? What did you do to get to this place in your career, in your schooling? I want you to put it in first person, right? I want you to take some of the examples, but relate it back to your own life right now. What is it that you've done to get here? Realistic facts. And you're going to want to say, yeah, but nope. We're not including the but or anything after that. What are the facts? List them out, write them out. And lastly, I want you to separate facts from feelings. This is going to be really difficult, but it's going to be really imperative for you to do so. Feelings of doubt do not equate to lack of ability. That's a fact. You can't argue with me on that. Argue with Google, argue with your mama. It's a fact. This is an example of what I want you to do when I say separate feelings from facts. Next, I want you to redefine what success looks like for you in your life. I want you to do that by setting small, attainable goals. I don't want you to set these unrealistic, high expectations that you're just going to fail because they're unrealistic. And even if you do make it, you're only going to attribute it to luck and not to what you've actually done. So we want to set small, achievable goals and work towards them. That way you start to build the confidence in yourself of, well, I set this goal, it was achievable, and I achieved it. I can't attribute that to luck or just being at the right place at the right time. There was something that I did. There was a chain of events that happened in order for me to get here, and I deserve to be here. And even if you don't make it, I still want you to acknowledge that there's progress to achieving the goal. I didn't make it this time. What did I actually do? Where can I actually get better? Because you start to recognize that actually there are a lot of things that are in my control and that I contribute to where I am in life and my destiny. You have to accept mistakes as part of your growth. It's not all about positive thinking, positive outcomes, everything's going to be hunky-dory great. No, part of growth is making mistakes. That's the only way we grow in life in any area. If you're expecting yourself to never make a mistake and for things to always go perfectly, you're setting yourself up for failure already. Next, I want you to celebrate your small wins. You're gonna hate this. I don't care. I want you to celebrate small wins, even if that's something that you accomplish and you go and you buy a little cupcake from the store for yourself and just celebrate yourself. Or if you say, you know what? I think I did good on this and I'm going to take the rest of the day off. Great. I don't care how you celebrate. I just want you to celebrate the small wins. That way you know that you don't have to wait for some grand gesture or some grand accomplishment in order to celebrate. Because here's the real news. You won't celebrate it. And if you do, it'll be because somebody else celebrated it for you. Not because you said, you know what? I'm going to celebrate myself. Because you probably think you got there for some other reason other than your hard work and accomplishments. Next, I want you to work on mindfulness exercises. Mindfulness, meditation, these are all ways in which you can center yourself. Be present in the present moment. Be where your feet are. And when you learn how to do this, you're going to be able to recognize certain thoughts that you have that you didn't recognize how often those thoughts pop up in your head. And then what happens is you recognize your thoughts are affecting your emotions, and your emotions are affecting your behavior. It's all a chain of events that happen. But when you practice mindfulness, you learn how to stay present in the moment and understand what's happening to you to get you to the point where you feel like an absolute fraud. You don't belong there, right? All of those strong feelings start from somewhere, but you're not recognizing that because you're not being mindful. Start with the mindfulness exercises. Next, I want you to remind yourself of past achievements. When you're on this journey, it will be easy to negate all of the past accomplishments you have or to even forget them or not remember them. Truly, you just disregard them. You make excuses. Oh, it was just this. Oh, it's not that big of a deal. I want you to acknowledge your past accomplishments for what they are, accomplishments. What did you do to get there? Reflect on how hard you worked to get through that stage in your life. And if you have trouble coming up with some, which you probably do, I want you to ask your social support networks about it, which is leading me to my last and final tip, which is to create a strong support system. You have to talk to other people that you trust about your imposter syndrome, about your negative self-talk. You don't have to divulge everything, but it is important to share with people what you're struggling with so that they know. And if you want to preface by saying, listen, I don't want you to coddle me. I don't want you to say how great I am. I don't want you to patch it up and make me feel nice. No, I just want you to listen to what I'm saying because this is what I'm struggling with. And I just want you to be there for me. Or I just want you to call me out when I am being toxic and negative self-talk is ruining my whole entire day. Right? You want them for accountability. You want them to listen. You want to be able to tell somebody what you're going through because our secrets keep us sick. And this is what we mean by that. Also in that, start therapy. Work with a mental health professional to start understanding where your imposter syndrome is coming from, where it started, and also to learn and discover more about yourself and find ways to actually reduce this so that you can actually enjoy your life, enjoy your accomplishments, enjoy the things that come up for you, and not always beat yourself up about it and set unrealistic expectations that nobody can achieve. I hope one of these tips were helpful for you. If it was, comment down below and let me know what you want me to talk about next. Don't forget to subscribe. I will see you in the next video. Take care.